Should Apple buy Aptera? At first glance, it sounds like one of those ideas that just clicks. Apple has more cash than it knows what to do with. Aptera is building one of the most efficient electric vehicles ever conceived. Apple has flirted with the idea of a car for years. Efficiency, clean design, environmental responsibility, beautiful user interfaces. On paper, it almost feels inevitable. But once you slow down and really think about it, the picture gets a lot more complicated. I recently watched a thoughtful breakdown arguing why Apple should buy Aptera, and honestly, it raised a lot of great points. It made me stop and seriously consider the idea. The more I thought about it, though, the more I kept running into reasons why this marriage probably won't happen, and why, in many ways, it might not even be a good idea. This isn't a prediction or insider knowledge, it's purely an opinion, and chances are you may see it very differently. That's part of what makes this conversation interesting. So let's walk through it. One of the biggest philosophical differences between Apple and Aptera starts with something that doesn't usually make headlines: the right to repair. Aptera has been very open about supporting repairability. The idea that owners should be able to work on, maintain, and keep their vehicles on the road for as long as possible is baked into their ethos. For many fans of Aptera, this isn't a small detail, it's one of the core reasons they're excited about the vehicle in the first place. Keeping products in service longer is often the most environmentally friendly choice you can make. Apple, historically, has been on the opposite end of that spectrum. For years, Apple made products that were notoriously difficult to repair. Parts weren't easily available. Technical documentation was locked away. The message, whether intentional or not, was clear. These devices were not meant to be opened, modified, or repaired by users. Apple wanted full control over how their products lived and died. To be fair, that stance has started to change. Recently, Apple has begun offering parts and repair manuals, slowly softening its position. But even with that shift, the company's legacy and instincts are still rooted in tight control. Aptera, on the other hand, is actively encouraging a culture of repair and longevity. That philosophical gap matters. It speaks to how each company views ownership, sustainability, and the role of the user. Another major difference comes down to control, specifically control over the user experience. Apple is famous for building vertically integrated products. They design the hardware, they design the software, they decide how everything works together. When you buy into Apple's world, you're buying into a carefully curated experience. For many people, that's exactly the appeal. Things tend to work smoothly right out of the box without requiring much technical knowledge. That approach has been wildly successful. Apple dominates the premium consumer electronics market and remains one of the most profitable companies on the planet. But Aptera feels fundamentally different. Aptera doesn't just tolerate tinkering, it seems to welcome it. The vehicle's modular design and open-minded approach suggest a company that expects owners to customize, experiment, and even improve their vehicles over time. That mindset doesn't naturally align with Apple's philosophy of sealed, polished, and tightly controlled products. This difference becomes even clearer when you look at ecosystems. Apple is famous, or infamous, for its closed ecosystem. Everything works best when you stay entirely inside it. iPhones talk seamlessly to Macs. Apple Watches pair effortlessly with iPhones. Apple's messaging system works flawlessly as long as everyone else is also using Apple devices. The moment you step outside that ecosystem, things get clunky. Aptera, by contrast, seems to want the opposite. Its design choices suggest an openness to collaboration. The modular center console is a perfect example. Instead of locking users into proprietary accessories, Aptera appears to be encouraging third-party innovation, even down to letting users 3D print their own components if they want to. That's not just a design choice, it's a statement. Apple doesn't tend to play in shared sandboxes. Aptera actively invites others into theirs. That philosophical difference alone creates serious friction when imagining an acquisition. Then there's the question of price and polish. Apple products are premium products. Even when Apple enters a new category, it usually does so with a refined, highly polished offering and at a premium price. If Apple were to buy Aptera, it's hard to imagine the vehicle becoming more affordable. If anything, the opposite would likely happen. Aptera's current strategy feels more pragmatic. The company appears willing to accept that early vehicles won't be perfect. Initial customers may effectively be early adopters, helping identify issues and refine the product. Rolling out vehicles regionally close to headquarters suggests a hands-on, iterative approach. Apple simply doesn't operate that way. If Apple took control, the bar for launch readiness would skyrocket. Every detail would need to meet Apple's standards before release. That level of polish doesn't come quickly, and it doesn't come cheaply. A rollout could easily be delayed by years. And then there's the part of this conversation that, in my opinion, matters more than anything else: history. Back in 2009, Aptera's original founders lost control of the company. Outside investors brought in new leadership, shifted the company's strategy, and ultimately steered it away from its original vision. The result wasn't success, it was failure. The company eventually collapsed. For the founders, that wasn't just a business setback, it was likely deeply personal. There's a huge difference between failing while staying true to your vision and failing while watching someone else dismantle it. That kind of experience leaves a mark. When Aptera was revived, one thing became clear: retaining control was non-negotiable. It's hard to imagine the founders willingly handing over the company again, especially to a massive corporation like Apple. Doing so would mean relinquishing control entirely. Based on everything we know, that would only happen as a last resort, under extreme financial pressure. Which brings us to funding. Aptera does need money, that's no secret. Building vehicles at scale is expensive, and funding needs are likely in the tens of millions, if not more. In that context, Apple's cash reserves make it an attractive hypothetical partner. But there's a big difference between investment and acquisition. A partnership where Apple provides funding, contributes software expertise, or helps with user interface design could make sense. An outright buyout, though, would fundamentally change what Aptera is. And that's why, despite all the surface-level synergy, an Apple acquisition feels unlikely. Apple has its own long-term ideas about transportation. It's been exploring them for years. Aptera, while innovative, doesn't necessarily offer technology that Apple couldn't develop or license independently. Aerodynamics, solar integration, composite structures, none of these require buying an entire company to access. So while it's fun to imagine Apple stepping in, writing a check, and instantly transforming Aptera into something bigger, the reality is far more complex. In the end, this comes down to values, control, and vision. Aptera seems determined to see its mission through on its own terms, even if that path is harder. Apple, meanwhile, thrives on ownership, polish, and closed systems. Those two worlds don't naturally overlap. That doesn't mean collaboration is impossible, it just means a full acquisition is probably the least likely outcome. But that's just one perspective. What do you think? Would Apple and Aptera actually make a good match, or are they simply too different at their core?